host, Sabrina Salvati.
All right. What's going on, guys? Happy Tuesday. Welcome to Sab's podcast. I'm your host, Sabrina Salvati. If you are new, I want to let you know that Sab's podcast is a part of Revolutionary Blackout Network. You can catch me there on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. And you can catch me here on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. What's going on? Shout out to everyone watching on YouTube, Rockfin, and Twitter. And I'm back. I know I wasn't here last night. I did forget to mention this on Friday before I clicked off. But yesterday was not just Halloween. It was also my husband's birthday. So we went out to dinner last night. That's why I was not here. But I am back now. What's going on? I want to give quick shout outs to people in the chat. We have a great show tonight. What's going on, Jay? We already know they're going to lose the House and the Senate. I think the cycle swings back and forth on a timer, giving the appearance of fairness and equality. Either side can win, right? LOL. Good point, Jay. Guys, if you haven't done so, please go ahead and take that poll. We'll go over that at the end of the show. What's going on, Mac? Or they'll just lose one and say, "Aw, man, we really wanted to get all these progressive priorities passed, but we don't have a majority in the blank." Yes. Remember, that happened under Obama's presidency, when Obama had the House and the Senate for the first 2 years, and then it flipped. And then that was the excuse. We can't do this, and that because we don't have the House and the Senate. But what did they do when they had it, right? Shout out to Joe. Anytime Jimmy Dore's name is mentioned, Jimmy wins. Quando. We can't wait to get into that story. Oh boy. What's going on, a non-user? Where is I don't give a fuck option in the poll? I'm sorry. I thought about putting like an I don't care or not sure, but I can only put 4 options. So yeah, YouTube fixed that. What's going on? Hannah G said, missed you last night. I missed you guys too, but I'm back now. Shout out Dabby Dabs. Hey, Sabby fam, how's everyone doing? Shout out to Bad Cookies. The poll is formatted incorrectly. The last option should read, they will keep one of them, but it doesn't matter. No one will vote for it. Did I mess that up? Oh, yeah. Whoops. Yeah, that last one is supposed to be, they will keep one of them. Sorry, guys. Whoops. I can't edit it either. That really sucks. What's going on, Mary? Jay Burke, all that you said here makes sense. What's going on? Seabrass says, Sabby F and Sabs. By the way, guys, if you didn't get a chance to see it, I was on Rising earlier this morning talking about the red wave. I put the link to that video under my community tab. So if you go to my channel and click on the community tab, you will see that post to that stream. So definitely check that out if you didn't get a chance to do so. If you're signed up for my newsletter, you would have received an email announcing that appearance as well. Shout out to Roman, says it was Dawn. What's going on, Steve? Hello, Sabby and friends. Hi, Gamer, says hello. Shout out to What It Do. One Love, Sabby. Greetings. What's going on? Sean Miller says, yo. Greetings, Angela. Good evening, one and all. So the great and all-powerful Jimmy Dore is once again to blame because reasons. Sometimes I shake my head so hard I fear it will hurtle into space. Everyone has someone to blame. It's just easier to blame Jimmy Dore, right? Shout out to Anthony gives a smile. Greetings, Samuel says, they blame Jimmy again. Oh, God. Miguel says, peace. What's going on? Eric, who's a Sabby member, says, happy Tuesday. Feels like a Sabby Monday. I know. It felt kind of off to me today. I was like, feels like Monday, but today is Tuesday. Greetings, Lewis. Sabby, we need a show on philosemitism. Wikipedia, look it up. Louis, not Louise. Thanks. Oh, Lewis. My bad. Shout out to Dave, says, hey to Gamer. Greetings, Ashura says, I guess I am part of the 26%. Ashura is probably referring to the poll there. Shout out to Hieristos. There was lube on the Pelosi Okay. Greetings, Cannabated Fantasy. Shout out. What's going on? Ben, who's a Sabby member, says, hi, Sabby. You do a great job at this. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. There's a lot of people in the chat. Shout out to the Traveler, says, hi, y'all. Happy Tuesday. Part of me wants to see the DNC keep both so they can show people they aren't about codifying Roe v. Wade, but they gonna lose bad. You know, that's what Rome said earlier today on RBN. He actually wants them to win both so they can just point at no one but themselves. What's going on? The Tory says, hi. Greetings, Roger Meadows says, Sabby, what's the difference between the bottom two? Yeah, that's supposed to be they will keep one. Sorry. Greetings, Delthea, who's a Sabby member, says, hey, 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 all you beautiful people. Shout out to Mary, said, missed you last night, Sabby. Glad to see you. That's right. I am back tonight. What's going on? Tissering says, Sabby Sabs, Anna Kasparian was recently on Richard Wolf's show. I heard. I have not had a chance to see it. I said hello to you, Eric. What's going on? Joe says, I think Dems want to lose, right? Because even if they lose, they still fundraise. Greetings, Diane says, hi, gamer. How are you, my friend? Hey, Sabby, you are rocking it. Thank you so much. And what's going on? Snapshot reviews. I wish Obama would just go somewhere and sit down and keep his mouth closed. Yeah. I'm with you, Snapshot. Shout out to Janice. Wish more would vote third party just to make a statement on policy. I agree. Okay. Quick shout out to everyone who is a Sabby patron. Thank you guys so much for your support. I really do appreciate it. If you're interested in being a Sabby patron, I have 5 categories: members, Sabbies, Sabsters, Sabinators, and of course the ultimate. And I am going to find a way to make this bigger so you guys can see their names more clear. But their names are also scrolling across the bottom of the screen there on the ticker. Greetings, and thank you guys so much. And I do want to give a shout out to new Sabby patrons. Over here, we call them newbies. Let's give it up for Cole Harkless, Tina Cross, Andrew Glaros, and Lee Lennox. Thank you guys so much and welcome all. Okay, we've got a lot to discuss tonight. Let me go ahead and share my thumbnail so you can see what we're going to talk about. What are we going to get into? All right, tonight we are discussing Jimmy Dore is blamed again. Oh dear. We're also going to discuss Barack Obama's surprise. We'll also be discussing Lula beats Bolsonaro. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it actually happened. And we are also going to discuss question number 3 on the ballot. So again, I told you guys these ballot initiatives are important. Even if you don't want to vote for a candidate per se, if you have these questions on your the ballot for your state, different states have different ones, you should still go vote for those ballot initiatives. Local politics does matter. And speaking of that, we're going to get started with question number 3. Now, last week I started going through the ballot questions for Massachusetts. We've already covered number 1 and number 2. Tonight, we're going to cover question number 3. And if you like to have a drink here and there, if you like to go buy a little bit of the bubbly, this question is going to be important for you. Massachusetts question number 3, changes to alcohol retail licensing initiative. Oh, buddy. Hold on to this one. This one I found to be a little bit confusing. So let's walk through this together. Massachusetts question 3, the changes to alcohol retail licensing initiative, is on the ballot in Massachusetts as an indirect initiated state statute on November 8th. Let's talk about what a yes vote will do. A yes vote supports this ballot initiative to 1, incrementally increase the combined number of retail beer and wine licenses and all alcoholic beverage licenses, including liquor, an establishment can own from no more than 9 in 2022 to no more than 18 by 2031. Let me explain something here for a second. The liquor laws are different depending on what state you live in, depending on what county you live in, believe it or not. One of the things that was interesting to me when I moved to Massachusetts is that I noticed, for the most part, this is in the Boston area, they didn't sell beer and wine in the grocery store. Now, coming from South Carolina, that's where I went to undergrad, you can buy beer and wine at Walmart, the super Walmarts. You can buy it in the grocery stores. It's just kind of everywhere. You can even buy it at the gas station. Not so much here. So here, typically, you have to go to what's called a package store. Now, some people here call it the packy. That confused me too at first. I was like, what does that really mean? But even if you want to buy beer, you have to go to a package store to get it, unless in Boston, you are one of those 3 stores that is allowed to sell it. So one is a Trader Joe's. There's a Shaw's that's connected to the Prudential Center that does sell it. And there's another one, I believe, in Back Bay. I forget the name of it, but it's fairly new. Anyway, they had this limit on what stores and how many grocery stores could actually sell alcohol. Now, you can't buy hard liquor at the grocery store here at all, right? You can't buy beer or wine at the grocery stores here at all, except for those exceptions that I just gave you. This is a statewide thing. Part of the problem is the licenses, right? So what they're trying to do here is make it so that these establishments can own from more than 9 to go to 18 licenses by 2031. So I think that in itself will be a good thing. I mean, this can actually help businesses. I actually find it to be a pain sometimes when I need to go to the grocery store and I'm also like, well, I want to pick up, beer for the evening, or you want to get a bottle of wine to go with your dinner that you're going to make. And you have to make a separate trip for that. Coming from the South, I was not used to that. Different by state, and cities are different as well. When I went to Chicago, they sold vodka at the 7-Eleven. So there you go. Number 2, a yes vote will limit the maximum number of licenses for the sale of all alcohol beverages an establishment could own to 7. And number 3, prohibit in-store automated or self-checkout sales of alcohol. So this is a big one, right? Because again, in some states and some counties, you can check yourself out if you're buying alcohol. Here, I haven't seen that as an option. So this is another thing that they're trying to pursue, to let people check themselves out. Now, of course, you know what that means. That's somebody's job. So just keep that in mind. Every time these stores add more self-checkout options, that's someone's job. Just something to think about. Number 4, change the formula used to calculate fines by using gross profits on all retail sales rather than the gross profit on the sale of alcohol. And so this is in connection with the 5th item here. And an out-of-state driver's license to the list of approved identification under the State Liquor Control Act. Okay, this is another one that is huge. In Massachusetts, it's weird because Massachusetts is progressive in some ways, and in some ways, there's still like these old school Puritan laws on the book. It's weird. In Massachusetts, another thing I learned when I moved here is that an out-of-state driver's license is not necessarily considered an approved form of identification for purchasing alcohol. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that the store that you go to is going to tell you, I can't sell you alcohol because you have a driver's license from Virginia. That doesn't mean that's going to happen, but they can do it. That's right, guy. Blue laws. That's right. So that doesn't mean that's going to happen, but they can do it. And it has happened to people that I've known here before. It's happened to students, right? So there's a lot of colleges here. So you have people coming from out of state to attend these colleges. Obviously, 9 times out of 10, they're going to have an out-of-state driver's license. So I never understood why they had that rule, that law to begin with. It was just kind of weird to me. So that is what will happen if you vote yes. Now, this one, I really recommend doing a little bit more digging on this, because there's some parts about the yes vote that I think are good. And then there's some parts I'm like, the self-checkout, I don't know. Like I said, you know. And of course, a no vote opposes this ballot initiative that would make changes to alcohol retail licensing, fining, and operations. Now, what would question 3 do? So let's go down here. The measure proposes the following limit increases: from 9 licenses to 12 on January 1st, 2023, from 12 to 15 on January 1st, 2027, from 15 to 18, January 1st, 2031. So it will happen over time. It's not going to be immediately that you would get to that 18, right? The measure would limit the maximum number of license for the sale of all alcoholic beverages an establishment could have to 7 beginning 2023. So that'll start in January, unless the retailer already holds more than 7 by December 31st of this year. So if you're a retailer and you already have more than 7, this is not going to apply to you. So just keep that in mind, because you're already there. Question 3 would also prohibit in-store automated and self-checkout sales of alcohol. It would also change the formula used to calculate fines for selling to underage customers by using gross profits on all retail sales instead of gross profits on alcoholic beverage sales. Let's highlight this. This is important, I think. So if you actually work at a package store, and let's say someone has a fake ID, and you accidentally sell alcohol to someone that is underage, if you're caught, there is a fine for that, right? Different states have different amounts. I think when I was in South Carolina, I think it was like $500 fine or something like that. And if it happens a certain number of times, then you can actually lose your liquor license. What they are doing here is they are now trying to calculate the fine based on the number of retail sales instead of the number of alcoholic beverage sales. That's important, because what that means is that it's not just going to be based on the profit that you make from selling alcohol. Some of these stores also sell other items, whether it's ice, whether it's cups, whether it's, I don't know, what else they sell in these stores, these funnels or whatever. Any other thing that they sell at those stores, that is going to be included in the calculation, which means your fine is probably going to be higher. Currently, the formula to calculate fines equals 50% of the daily gross profits of the sale of alcohol multiplied by the number of the number of license suspension days. Fines are levied in lieu of suspension of the license. But like I said, if you get caught doing this too many times, they can take your license. And then, of course, question 3 would also change the law governing identification cards for alcohol purchases to include a valid motor vehicle license issued by another state. That is a no-brainer. Now, who supports and who opposes it? This piece is important. The 21st Century Alcohol Retail Reform Committee is leading the campaign in support of question 3. The committee has reported over almost 1 million in contributions, with over 640. Did I say almost 1 million? What did I say? Yeah, that's almost 1 million. Yeah. With over 640,000 of the total from the Massachusetts Package Association. So again, there's that term again, package. The association wrote on its website, why vote yes on number 3? balance will be restored by decreasing the number of full liquor licenses allowed by an individual or a corporation from 9 to 7, while progressively increasing the number of beer and wine licenses from 9 to 18, minus any full liquor license owned by the corporation or individual. So like I said, if you're already at that number, you would subtract there because you wouldn't get it if you're already over that number. To improve public safety, self-checkout of alcohol beverages will be prohibited, and a fine for selling to a minor will be based on gross sales, not just alcoholic beverages. So they're using the self-checkout phrase here in reference to public safety. But honestly, what I would have pointed to is, again, that's someone's job. They're pointing to the public safety issue, but they're not pointing to the fact that that could be another job for someone. Just something to point out. So this is a tricky one. I'm telling you guys, before you vote on this one, just please pay close attention. The food stores and consumer choice is registered in opposition to question 3. So it goes on to list the stores. This is important. Cumberland Farms, Massachusetts Food Association, New England Convenience Store and Energy Marketers Association. That's a long ass title. And Retailers Association of Massachusetts also opposed question number 3. Ryan Kearney, General Counsel for the Retailers Association, said, "We consider this to be an overreach and a blatant attempt to stifle competition from businesses that seek to offer a wide array of products. It is not fair," this is coming from Brian, the senior vice president, "it is not fair or rational to limit multi-store grocers to a limited number of full licenses they can hold statewide simply because they sell food." So, all in all, this initiative is an attempt, I guess, to level the playing field or to even the playing field here. And it's tricky because some package stores will sell food. They may sell like snacks as well, and then some don't. So I don't know, guys. I don't know how I'm going to go on this one, but that is question number 3. I'm going to go to some of the comments here because I know some of you are like, what the hell is that? Why don't they just let things be? I don't know. I feel like this is overcomplicating an already complicated issue that we have here in Massachusetts. Just give people the freaking liquor licenses. Like, it shouldn't even be this complicated, but it is. Shout out to JB, says, "Hello, all you gorgeous people. Please congratulate Sabby on her wonderful appearance on Rising this morning. She did a wonderful job as usual." Thank you so much, JB. Delthea, "Obama does more harm than good to the Dems. He always sucks up all the attention in the room, leaving the actual candidate forgotten and nonplussed." It's true. He sucks up a lot of energy, right? It's true. He like walks in the room and it's like, thank you for the super chat, TC Blondie. "I do compliance for a winery. Every state has different rules for shipping to consumers and tax rates and types. Keeps me employed." Interesting to know, TC Blondie. I know it's never the same across the board. Jay says, "My grandpa's cousin, he was from Huntington, West Virginia. He made moonshine. He would bring it over to Ohio at my grandpa's house and sell it. Haha, tax-free. F the man." Okay. There was a show called Moonshiners. I don't know if you guys ever saw it. It was a reality TV show. And they were definitely being over dramatic, but it was about these guys who made moonshine like in the woods in Virginia, in the western part of Virginia, the state, not West Virginia. And like, it's illegal, but people do it. But that's what the whole show was about. Thank you for the super chat, Wendy Melly. "I wish they would have on the ballot lowering the cost of marijuana dispensaries so it's not just benefiting wealthy investors who can afford the license." Okay, I'm so glad you brought that up because that is a known issue. I mean, the way it stands right now, like basically, you need like $1 million to open a dispensary. Now, yeah, I'm sure most people will get like a loan from the bank, but you need to have a lot of collateral to get $1 million loan. I mean, let's be real. But Wendy is 100% correct here. It's not really for working class people to open a dispensary, and it sucks. E. Heller, did a resurgence of the temperance movement show up and get sneakier? Right? Like, this is just ridiculous. I was like, listen, this is probably not going to pass because most people are going to look at this and be like, what the hell? It's too much. It's too much. What's that, Birdie? 1 million for selling weed? Yes, in Massachusetts now. And I don't think it was this way in the beginning when we first passed legalized marijuana. And then I think it was almost 2 years later where they said, okay, now we can start retail stores. In the beginning, I don't think it cost that much, but it does now. And it's stiff competition. Like, I'm not even going to kid to you. I didn't think there would be that many retailers that would open up here, but they just have been popping up all across the state. But again, you have to have the money. You need the collateral. Otherwise, you're screwed. There is a weed service that is trying to deliver, by the way. I read an article about this. I know they do realize the unfairness here with trying to start a cannabis business. So there is an organization that has actually been trying to help people that are working class, like start their own cannabis business. But I haven't heard about any of them opening just yet. And I read that article a year and a half ago. So I'll keep an eye out. I'll keep an eye out. Sean says the cheapest one started here in Washington was $3.5 million. Okay, so even in Washington state, it costs millions of dollars just to open a cannabis shop. I should do a panel on that, huh? I could try to see if I can get people to come on that have started. That's going to be tough. That's going to be tough. Some of them might not want to come on. But I can try to see if I can get local retailers here come on and explain the process for those of you who are interested. What's that, Astro? Can you not legally grow your own? I think you can, but I think there's limitations. I'll have to check I don't smoke. Just FYI. You guys are asking more questions about the cannabis than you are about the alcohol question here. But I'll have to ask my husband about that. But because like I said, I don't smoke, but I know some people here still do grow their own. I want to say, I think that you can. President Jesus, can you still buy illegal weed? Well, I'm sure you can. You're not supposed to. I mean, it's not illegal. It's legalized. But I don't think they can. That's the thing. They can't arrest you for it. And even before we legalized marijuana, we had already decriminalized it. So it was like, if you got caught, it was like a ticket if they wanted to give you that. Delthea, we had a weed delivery service in my old neighborhood. His name, Bobo. These are funny, you guys. I want to get Bill Bradley in here. Massachusetts has a 6-plant limit according to the Googles. Okay, so there you go. You can do it, but there is a limit. And Max says the same thing. Yes, 6 plants, I believe. Does everybody follow that? Probably not. But again, I don't think law enforcement here is trying to go look in people's like homes to see how many plants they're growing. I don't think they really care as much about that here. I'll take that comment on Rockfin, Roger. Okay. Thank you for the tip on Rockfin, Roger. Sabby, if the last one was supposed to keep one chamber of Congress, then wouldn't that be the same as number 2, Dems lose one chamber? Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. Look, I wrote this very quickly. And also, is this an initiative after Ted Kennedy's own heart? The Kennedys must have been the one to file for it. I don't think so. Not from what I see here on the document, but I get what you're saying. I get where I get what you're coming from, Roger. I get where you're coming from. Bill said, yeah, in most states, they don't bust you for homegrown unless they catch you selling without a license. Then they may throw in the extra charge of having too many plants. Yeah, that's what I figure. Leroy says in Vegas, you can't grow within a 20-mile radius of a dispensary. My dispensary delivers. Interesting. That's interesting. Why within 20 miles? I mean, you could be. That's crazy, Leroy. Wow, these rules and regulations. Okay. We're going to move on to our second story, which is Barack Obama. Now, for those who have not been aware, Barack Obama has been hitting the road. He is out there trying to help the Democratic Party keep the House and gain those extra 2 seats in the Senate this November. Now, there's a couple of things here I'm going to show. I have a couple of clips I'm going to show of Obama. One of them has to deal with Obama asking people to donate money to the Democratic Party. I'm going to touch on that. And the other ones have to deal with people in the audience actually calling Obama out and calling out the Democratic Party. After that, we are going to get into this discussion about the wealth inequality that happened under Obama's administration, because I think some people forget that it was under his administration where Black wealth actually tanked in this country. And I want people to never forget that, because I feel like a lot of people don't really speak about that when they interview Barack Obama. And we need to remember what it was like and what happened and how we got to where we are today. So this first clip that I want to show you, it says Obama challenges voters to ask themselves, who's got your back? Here we go.
Some of you here are on Social Security. Some of your parents are on Social Security. Some of your grandparents are on Social Security. You know why they have Social Security? Because they worked for it. They worked hard jobs for it. They have chapped hands for it. They had long hours and sore backs and bad knees to get that Social Security. And if Ron Johnson does not understand that, if he understands giving tax breaks for private planes more than he understands making sure that seniors who've worked all their lives are able to retire with dignity and respect, he's not the person who's thinking about you and knows you and sees you, and he should not be your senator from Wisconsin.
We're going to rewind back and I'm going to chime in here and there because there are certain things he said here that I want you to pay attention to and I really want to address, because he's kind of calling himself out here in a second.
Some of you here are on Social Security. Some of your parents are on Social Security. Some of your grandparents are on Social Security. You know.
Okay, let's talk about that. Let's talk about who's on Social Security, right? The majority of Americans are not on Social Security. I want you to pay attention to this because you know what the Democratic Party's doing, right? They're speaking to the demographic that likely comes out to vote. They're speaking to people 65 and up. They're speaking to the people who are on Social Security. They're speaking to the people who are qualify, or at least qualify for Medicare, right? They're not talking to us. Keep this in mind, right? When it comes to people who are, I guess they would still be Gen X at this point, Gen X, Millennial, Gen Z, they're not talking to us. And you know why I say that? Maybe it'll happen for Gen X, but for my generation, even for millennials, we may not even get Social Security by the time we're old enough to get it. You know that, right? They've been talking about that for years. So he's speaking to a certain demographic, a certain group of people. He's not speaking to younger people. Let's go on.
Why they have Social Security? Because they worked for it. They worked hard jobs for it. They have chapped hands for it.
And we're working for it right now too, but we may not get it.
They had long hours and sore backs and bad knees to get that Social Security. And if Ron Johnson does not understand that, if he understands giving tax breaks for private planes more than he understands making sure that seniors who've worked all their lives are able to retire with dignity and respect, he's not the person who's thinking about you and knows you and sees you, and he should not be your senator from Wisconsin.
Now, this is something you have to remember about Obama. He was always a great speaker. His actions, not so much, though. All talk and no action, at least when he was president. This is how he was able to win, right? Let's talk about the capitalism portion here when he brings up the fact that they worked all their lives for that Social Security. Why should you have to work your whole life? Why should you have to work? And I'm talking like my grandparents had jobs when they were like kids. When they were kids, they started working. Why should you even have to work all your life? And see, the people in the audience that are clapping and that are cheering this on, it's like that's not even resonating with them. It's like they're not getting that piece. All they hear is this speech of his. And they're like, yeah, he's saying we should keep what we got. This is great. Without really questioning what he's saying. No one in this country, the wealthiest country in the world? No one in this country should have to work their entire life. That's a big problem. Let's go on. There's more here. There's something else I picked up on that he said. Oh, the Social Security part about not electing him. So listen to this.
Respect. He's not the person who's thinking about you and knows you and sees you, and he should not be your senator from Wisconsin.
He's not the person that knows you and sees you, and he shouldn't be your senator from Wisconsin. So then how does Obama feel about Joe Biden? Because Joe Biden, I want to remind everyone, I can't play that video on here anymore because it's copyright. Last time I played it, I had to take it down. I want to remind everyone, Joe Biden said on the Senate floor that he also wanted to cut Social Security and Medicare. And what happened after that? Barack Obama made him his vice president. So should Joe Biden have not been Barack Obama's vice president since he wanted to cancel Social Security and Medicare? Should Joe Biden have not been voted for again as senator because he wanted to cut Social Security and Medicare? And see, this is where the two-party problem comes in, right? You see, it was okay when someone on the Democrat side said that, because that's the same team that Obama was on. But it's not okay when someone on the Republican side says it, because that's the other team. The problem is, no matter which party it is, it's wrong, period. So I'm sorry, I've been hearing this all week, right? The past week and a half. All of these pundits going on to CNN and MSNBC, they're going to take your Social Security. They want to cut your Medicare. Even Joe Biden himself on Twitter, the Republicans want to take your Social Security away. And I responded to one of them and I said, so do you. People forget. No one remembers, because I do. Let's go on.
I mean, the message he's sending is pretty clear. If you're related to him, if you donate to his campaign, you get a deal. If you're not, you're out of luck and you're on your own.
Let's hear this part again.
I mean, the message he's sending is pretty clear. If you're related to him, if you donate to his campaign, you get a deal. If you're not, you're out of luck and you're on your own. But
you're out of luck and on your own regardless. Like, this is the problem. So if you donate to his campaign, you get a deal. He's giving people a deal that donate to his campaign. We don't get anything. We don't get anything. I donated a lot of money to Bernie Sanders and to the squad. I didn't get anything for that. That's why I keep telling you I want a refund. And some of you donated to them too. What did you get? What did you get but lies? It's insane. It's crazy. And he's been doing this. He's traveling all around. He's making these speeches. JB says Obama is going to realize how much juice he's lost next Tuesday. So I do want to remind you, last year, Obama came out for the gubernatorial election in Virginia. The Democrat candidate lost. Bullshit man. Sabby Sabs, great spot on Rising. Love seeing your profile grow. Oh, thank you so much, BS man. Thanks for the super chat, Steve. My brother was a narcotics detective here in LA. He said they ran into CIA several times during the Iran-Contra. Interesting. Whoa, Steve. Michael, didn't Obama try to cut Social Security unless Bernie Sanders confronted him on it back in 2010? Oh, see, I forgot about that. These are the things I wish that people who are in that audience would remember. I don't get it. Delthea, there is no reason why we all shouldn't get Social Security. Hashtag MMT. That's right. The money's there. They can do it. Kitty loves films. We live in a dystopian nightmare. Work until we die. Yeah, this whole idea, they worked all their life. I'm like, anybody questioning why people have to work all their life in the United States? Gloria, who's got our back? Obama. Well, it sure ain't you. You came to Flint, Michigan and pretended to drink the filtered lead water and then upheld the criminals who did it. We will never forget. I remember that. Nobody asked him about that, by the way. He's still doing interviews and no one brings that up. Thank you for the super chat, Donald. I'm not saying that. The Dems' biggest base are middle-class, college-educated white and black women. Is the younger cohort of that demographic as enthusiastic for the Dem? Based on what I've seen, no. And a lot of you, if you followed me for a long time, you know, like my students were like Gen Z. A lot of the younger people are more likely to embrace socialism. And they're more likely to see that the two-party system is a joke. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when they become the older generation. And I think the Democratic Party knows that, and I think they're afraid of that. I don't know. I do not know. Now, that's one clip. Now, there was another one here where Barack Obama was in Michigan, and I want to go ahead and add this here to the stream. So some of you may have been following Jose. He was the one that actually called out AOC during that town hall, also called out Jamal Bowman about the funding that's going to Ukraine and the possible threat of a nuclear war. I agree 100% with Jose on this. I don't agree with him on some of the other issues that his organization is fighting for. Diane Sayre was on here Friday. I did not agree with her opinion or her take on climate change per se, but I do agree with confronting these politicians, right, about where they have failed, regardless of the administration that's in power or not. So here is Barack Obama in Michigan at another rally again, trying to get people to come out and support the Democratic Party this November. And let's just say Barack Obama has also been confronted about this funding to Ukraine and the threat of a nuclear war.
You overthrew Ukraine in 2014! You overthrew the legitimate Ukraine in 2014! Tell us about your plans for nuclear war with Russia! Stop provoking nuclear war with Russia! You're going to kill us in nuclear war! Russia's the enemy! Russia is not the enemy! Russia's the enemy! Stop getting us into nuclear war with Russia!
Mr. President, there's more people that are going to get hurt if we go into nuclear war. Right now, we're on the verge of nuclear war thanks to what you did in Ukraine in 2014. Why won't you tell the truth about what you did to overthrow Ukraine in 2014? Will you tell the truth?
This is what I'm saying. Look,
Will you tell the truth?
There is a process that we set up in our democracy.
Yeah, but we're on the verge of nuclear war.
Do
you care about the lives of your supporters? Will you tell the truth before the world walks into World War?
You wouldn't do that in the workplace.
The coup of 2014 is on your doorstep. You were the one they allowed for a radical Do you respect the lives of your own supporters? Will you tell the truth for us? Or will you give back your peace prize?
See, this is another example, and I know some people don't agree with this, right? They don't like people doing this, and they may say, oh, it's really rude for them to do that. But when are you going to have the opportunity to speak to them about this otherwise, right? It's not like they're going to your communities on the regular. It's not like Obama's every day he's going to be in Michigan and just sit down and talk with the younger people, to talk with these voters. So when they have these town halls, that is your opportunity to do that. So here is another example of protesters, and they've been going after everybody. I think Cory Booker also was confronted. I think I saw that earlier this morning. Ilhan Omar, we talked about that as well. But they've been going after everybody, and rightfully so. This is another way to get that message across to more people, all of those people that are in those rallies. And then these videos go viral. This video has over 230K views. So a lot of people have seen this. And I really want the American people to wake up here and stop believing, or stop being so easily to believe the State Department talking points without doing your own research. We've fallen for this before. We cannot fall for this again. So I think I agree with what happened here. Now let me come out here. Now, Jose goes on here. And this is where you can see Obama's response here. So I want you to hear this as well. Let's get into it.
Making wild, crazy allegations about them. That creates a dangerous climate. And if
he says, let me start this over. Sorry.
Making wild, crazy allegations about them. That creates a dangerous climate. And if elected officials don't do more to explicitly reject that kind of making wild, crazy allegations about them, that creates a dangerous climate.
You created a dangerous climate. People having a difference of opinion, I don't feel creates a dangerous climate. What I do feel is that people like Obama, Clinton, Bush, both the Bushes, throw both of them in there. All of them, all the presidents during my lifetime, they have created these dangerous climates because they can't seem to keep their hands off of other countries and their resources and their people. And they've destroyed their countries. They've destroyed the people. And then they want to complain and ask questions. Why are they coming here? Would you want to live in a country that is nothing but rubble now, where all the resources have been extracted by the United States government? You wouldn't want to stay there either. So I don't think People having a difference of opinion. No, that is not the dangerous climate. The dangerous climate is the things that the United States government has been doing to these other countries, which causes them to hate Americans, the American people, when we actually had nothing to do with it at all. All for the military industrial complex, all to make money, to make Raytheon happy, to make Lockheed Martin happy. It's all about profit.
And if elected officials don't do more to explicitly reject that kind of rhetoric, if they tacitly support it or encourage their supporters to stand outside voting places armed with guns and dressed in tactical gear.
Who in the crowd was armed with guns and dressed with tactical gear? So here is Obama. You be careful if you listen to what he's really saying. He's asking for them to control the rhetoric. He's asking for censorship. That's what he's really asking them to do. He doesn't want them to be able to say these things at all. See, he's still a puppet, right? Like, he's no longer president, but he's still a puppet. He's still controlled.
More people can get hurt. And we're going to be violating the basic spirit of this country.
People are hurt by the words that they said to you from the audience. People are hurt. No, I don't think people are hurt. I think Obama's embarrassed. I think that's what's really going on.
Yes. So, sir, wait, come on. But this is what I mean. This is what I mean. I mean, we're having a conversation. Come on. Sir, I'm not. Sir.
And for the people who are cheering Obama in the audience, they are just so blinded by Obama's presence and his charisma and some of that identity politics as well, that they're not even taking the time to listen to what the people in the audience are actually saying. Probably won't even research it when they get home, because they have this idea of hero worship, right? They've been told to love Obama, to support Obama. First Black president. You need to praise Obama. How dare you be rude and mean to Obama? Hero worship in politics in our country is incredibly dangerous. Politicians should not be treated like celebrities. And you don't just see this with Barack Obama. You see it with members of the squad. You've seen this. I've seen this over my lifetime. And all I can say is this. It's dangerous because it gives the masses the idea that these individuals cannot be challenged, whether it's intellectually, whether it is emotionally. They cannot be challenged because of who they are. And that is dangerous.
Come on. Sir, this is what I'm saying. Look, there is a process that we set up in our democracy. Right now, I'm talking. You'll have a chance to talk sometime soon.
So what does democracy have to do with being interrupted? This is basically, you see how they keep bringing the word democracy into everything?
You don't have to interrupt each other. You don't have to shout each other down. It's not a good way to do business. You wouldn't do that at a workplace. If you wouldn't just interrupt people in the middle of a conversation.
So he says you wouldn't do that at a workplace. You wouldn't just interrupt people in the middle of a conversation. I beg to differ. It depends on the workplace. Because if any of you have worked in the restaurant industry like I have, there's a lot of interrupting and there's a lot of cussing, especially back in the kitchen. I worked in higher ed, where also, if you're in a meeting with some of these faculty members, there's a lot of interrupting and cussing. So it depends. If you work in manufacturing, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of interrupting and a lot of cussing. So what workplace is Obama talking about? He's talking about the professional managerial class. He's talking about people like him. And to be fair, this is not a workplace. This is a rally. What do people do at rallies? They chant, they yell, they cheer. It has nothing to do with that. If this guy was screaming, "I love you, Obama," Barack Obama wouldn't have any rejection to it. He has rejection to it because this gentleman is criticizing Barack Obama. That's the problem.
Not how we do things. And this is part of the point that I want to make. Just basic civility and courtesy works. And that's what we want to try to encourage.
Basic civility and courtesy works, and that's what we want to encourage. Civility hasn't really gotten us anywhere. You know, I hear people talk about this idea of civility politics. Where has that gotten us? Because to be clear, Barack Obama, I was civil when I voted for you twice. And we're going to get to the wealth aspect of this in just a second. I was civil when I voted for you twice. The first time I voted for you, I said, well, you know, the economy was already bad under Bush. He inherited that economy. Maybe we need to give him another chance. And we give you chances. And you chose Wall Street over the American people. And you gave us Trump. That's how we ended up with Donald Trump. Because you let down the working class. This was the Democratic Party walking away from the working class people. This was the Democratic Party kissing ass to the coastal elites and the Goldman Sachs. So the civility politics, we tried that. That didn't get us anywhere. If you think that economically people in this country are going to continue to sit back and allow this to happen, allow you to screw them over and to use them while you continue to get rich and write all these books, and you continue to buy homes on Martha's Vineyard off of lies and off of deceit after people stood in line to vote for you. If you think, and all of the other politicians out there, if you think that the American people are going to continue to sit back and continue with that for so long, you are mistaken. And that's why you got someone like Trump. Let's go back in.
So, listen, that's okay. No. Wait. Quiet down. Look, listen, hey, hold up. Hold on a minute. This is, listen, everybody. Hey.
See, he's not used to this. Obama is used to, especially with like Democratic voters. I think, you know, he's starting to see more of this now. But especially with like Democrat voters, Obama is used to them kissing his ass. It's kind of the way that it's been. And now you see differently, right? He see differently now.
Y'all up there, pay attention.
When you lose control of the room, that's not good. Something about Obama, he was always able to have some type of command of the room. He could read the room, right? He's not used to this. So that's why you hear him telling the people at the top, hey, pay attention. You have to know how to read the room. And it just seems like now that maybe, I don't know if he's not used to, he can't do that anymore, or if it's more so that people have just had enough and they're like, no. The charisma and the lies, it doesn't work anymore. It does not work. Now, this wasn't the only speech, because like I said, he's been making the rounds. Let me go ahead and mute this before I play it. Because I also want to share this one with you as well. Oh, I don't think that went the right way. Somehow I got stuck in. I was trying to share the Georgia one. Give me just a second. So I thought I had that one and maybe I didn't. Maybe this was the same one. Oh yeah, that is the same one. I'll find it in just a second. I was looking for the Georgia one. I forgot to put that one there. If you're new to watching me, you're probably like, what the hell? She's not prepared. Welcome to being live. Let me get the videos. Yeah, welcome to Sabby Sabs podcast. Because sometimes here it goes. I got it. All right. So I want to show you the Georgia one as well, because he made a speech in Georgia too. Again, him and Bernie Sanders, they're making these rounds. They're like, we got to get out there and help them win. We got to get out there and help them win. So here is a speech from Obama. Actually, Eric, it might be easier if I just do this I'll put it over here. Whee! Did I do it right? Nope, that didn't work right. I don't know why that Twitter sometimes can be slow. Okay, I got it. All right, bet. Okay, it's better if I have it in type VNC. So here's part of Obama's speech in Georgia talking about Herschel Walker and Warnock. Now listen to this one.
It's a study in contrast. Now, there are a lot of young people here. I love, yes. That makes me.
Thanks.
It's a study in contrast. Now, there are a lot of young people here. I love, yes. That makes me excited. Some of you may not remember, but Herschel Walker was a heck of a football player. I mean, some of you are too young to remember, but in college he was amazing. One of the best running backs of all time. But here's the question. Does that make him the best person to represent you in the U.S. Senate? Does that make him equipped to weigh in on the critical decisions about our economy and our foreign policy and our future?
Something I want to jump in and say here, first of all, this race between Warnock and Herschel Walker shouldn't even be as close as it is. And the gentleman I was with on the panel this morning on Rising, he mentioned that Warnock has a 3-point lead. That's not a bragging point. Warnock is the incumbent. Herschel Walker is an ex-football player that said some crazy shit. Like, seriously, it should have never even been this close. You see the problem? Barack Obama shouldn't even have to go to Georgia to help a sitting senator, a sitting Democrat senator, beat an ex-football player who has no political experience. It shouldn't even be this close.
Let's do a thought experiment. Let's say you're at the airport and you see Mr. Walker and you say, hey, there's Herschel Walker, Heisman winner. Let's have him fly the plane. You probably wouldn't say that. You'd want to know, does he know how to fly an airplane?
So, I'm sorry, but it's not like Warnock had all that experience, that political experience either. It's just, it's really sad. I'm looking at all the young people and I'm looking at the universities like Clark Atlanta here, like on her shirt, all the young people that came out to this rally, they mainly came out to see Barack Obama. It's not like they necessarily came out to say, yes, I want to come to this rally to support Warnock. No, they came to the rally to see Barack Obama. because he's treated as such like this celebrity figure. And you know what's really sad? It reminds me when Joe Biden went to Georgia and told all these kids, especially the ones from these HBCUs, if you guys put Warnock and Ossoff in DC, I'll make sure you get those $2,000 checks. And that didn't happen. It also reminds me when Joe Biden told these students at the HBCUs, if you went to a HBCU and you make over $125,000 a year, I will forgive all your student loan debt. That did not happen. And here comes Barack Obama speaking to the same group and demographic again. To do what? How can you ask these kids to go out and support the Democratic Party again after you reneged on every promise that you made to them just 2 years ago? How can you do it? Look, there's a reason why this race is as close as it is. It should not be. There's a reason why Stacey Abrams is getting destroyed by Brian Kemp when last time when she ran against him, it was a close race. You see the difference? Because people are realizing that they're being lied to. People realize that they're being used. But make no mistake, these kids came out to see Barack Obama. How many of them are going to show up to the polls? How many of them are going to show up to vote? Because people see these rallies, and then come election day, the numbers don't turn out.
Or let's say you go to the hospital, and you say, you know, that Walker guy, he sure could tear it up at Sanford Stadium. Give him a scalpel.
I don't think that's a fair analogy. There's a difference between being a medical doctor. Obviously, you need training for that. You have to go to medical school, and being a politician. Because there are several people that have become politicians that had no political experience. Let's be real. If you look at the members of the squad, how many of them had political experience? The only one I know of is Ayanna Presley. She was our city councilor here. So should they not be there, Obama? I mean, I have my opinions about them not fighting for us. But would Barack Obama have been against the squad running for office? Against their incumbent? Would he have been against Jamal Bowman running against Elliot Engel because Elliot Engel had more years of political experience? What exactly is Barack Obama trying to say here? You need to be trained as a politician to be a politician? Okay.
No, you wouldn't say that. You'd ask at least. I would. Has he done surgery before?
But being a politician isn't surgery. This is an exaggeration. And it's like the people in the audience, it's like they don't get it. You see how people are asleep?
And by the way, the opposite is true too. Like, you may have liked me as president, but you would not want me starting a tailback for the dogs. I mean, can you imagine my slow, old, skinny behind getting hit by some 300-pound defensive tackle who runs a 4.6 40? You'd have to scrape me off the field. No, I can't. No, I can't.
That was terrible. Look, I'm just going to say it. If Herschel Walker beats Warnock, Colin said, in other words, he wants people to be like him. Exactly. Because you see, this is just more evidence. Again, this is the Democratic Party wanting to get a certain type of demographic and a certain type of class, getting those coastal elite liberals. That is what the Democratic Party has become. They're not for the working class. They ain't been for working class for years. Ro Khanna tried to tell me, look at all the things the Democratic Party has done. Social Security, Medicare, the labor movement, da-da-da-da. None of those things have happened in my lifetime. Did they happen in yours? None of them. What has the Democratic Party done since I've been alive for the people? They bringing up old policy, decade-old policy to tell you what the Democratic Party has done because they can't come up with anything in the past couple of years to prove their point. That's embarrassing. It really is. I have one more clip. I believe here. Oh, I think that's the Michigan one again. Yeah, that's the Michigan one again. We're going to go to some of the comments here. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. Jay says Obama bailed out the people who put him there. Phew. Thank you for the super chat, Lorez. GJ? I'm sorry. GJ on Rising Sab. Glenn Greenwald cover Obama plan to cut Social Security. Oh, was he on Rising today too? Let me know. I might have missed that. Man, it's been a busy day. JB says, oh, good job. Okay. Good job on Rising. Glenn Greenwald cover Obama plan to cut Social Security. Okay. Let me know where that took place. JB says civility politics is a tool to keep people suppressed. That's right. Christopher, a $7.25 minimum wage creates a dangerous climate. Lack of fully funding our education creates a dangerous climate. 100%, Chris. Thanks for the super chat, Mad Wolf. The con man still has them in his trance. I don't think it's working the way it used to, though, Mad Wolf. It definitely didn't work in Virginia. Thank you for the super chat, D. Doc. It's the people in the crowd still cheering for this guy that disappoint me. We ain't all gonna make it. I'm telling you, some people, they're not gonna make it there. Thank you for the super sticker, JM. And thank you for this super chat, Lorez. They chant OB and say reps are in a Trump cult. Wow. Thank you for the super chat, Elizar. Super like for Sabby. Thank you so much. Whoop, whoop. Elizar, it looks like you're on a beach there. Must be warm where you are. JB says many of them probably don't know the history of Obama and the atrocious things he did. I think that's part of the problem. We're going to get into that. Thank you for the super chat, Rosie. By him insinuating people have to be qualified, he's basically saying that no ordinary people can run for office when that's actually what we need. Bingo, Rosie. He don't want everyday Joe Schmoes running for office. And thank you for this, Delthea. Didn't y'all get the memo? Only Harvard law grads should hold public office. That's what it seems like, right? Wasn't it that recently they said that Obama, or not Obama, I'm telling you, I mix up Obama and Biden all the time, that Joe Biden was what, the first president that went to a public university? What does that tell you about our country? Guys, do me a favor and go ahead and hit that like button. Go ahead and smash that bad boy. Do the thing that helps me with the algorithm. And then there's this piece here, which we cannot forget about. This report came from The Intercept, but I'll never forget this article. In reference to Barack Obama, new report looks at how Obama's housing policies destroyed Black wealth. Now, many people have tried to argue against me on this, but the data is here. The first Black president in American history was a disaster for Black wealth. Let's look at the data. Now, this article was written December 8th, 2017. Let's get into it. Barack Obama's election marked a significant turning point in American history, and it was rightly celebrated as a sign of racial progress. We're going to highlight this piece here that says racial progress, because it appears from what I saw, the only progress was for Barack Obama. Didn't really help us out much. But Obama's presidency came at a time of economic hardship due to predatory financial practices that led to a 2007 recession. That combined with Obama's administrative flawed housing policies led to a major decline in African American wealth during the Obama years. Now, that was coming from the People's Policy Project. What it shows is we bailed out Wall Street. That wasn't entirely Obama's doing at all. That was Bush and the Federal Reserve, Ben Bernanke, and so forth. But housing was almost entirely under his control. Homeowners were not bailed out. Many middle-class Americans saw their wealth decimated by the subprime mortgage debacle, but African Americans suffered a particularly heavy blow because so much of that population's wealth was tied up in housing. Let me speak on this piece and then I'll show you the graphs. Let's talk about where the wealth came from. So during that time, for most African Americans, the wealth was in the home ownership. Now, wealth can be accrued in many different ways. Some people may own their home, but they may also own plots of land. They may also own a business. They may also own a car or multiple cars. There's different ways that you can accumulate wealth. But more importantly, some people have generational wealth. If you did not have generational wealth and your home was the only asset that you had, and your home was stolen from you, let's be real, let's call it what it was. Your home was stolen from you during the housing crisis, you lost your wealth. So let's look at the chart because this is what people need to see how things changed. So this is the home equity graph. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Oh, you guys got blurry images, but we'll figure it out. We'll do it. Home equity as a percent of total wealth in 2007. So you're going to see yellow is white, green is black, and black is Latino. You thought they would have made this easier and made black, but whatever. Anywho, so you can see here, if we go from 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, this is where you see the racial wealth decline. So this is important for people to see. It says Cooper and his co-author Matt Brunig cite data from the Federal Reserve Survey of Consumer Finances that demonstrates that home equity was important to middle-class Americans of all backgrounds in 2007, but particularly important to African American wealth. You see the change here? Right here, where it says racial wealth decline. You can see white wealth decline, black wealth decline, Latino wealth decline. Let's go on. There's another chart that I want to show you here. I'll make this a little bit bigger. Again, the same colors, right? So you can see here's 1990. So the black line is Latino wealth. The yellow line here is white wealth and the green line is black wealth. You can see there was a point when black wealth really did like shoot up, right? Or it was doing better. 2005, that's 2010. You see the drop here? Now, things have improved, but honestly, percentage of homeowners with negative equity by race. So this is the negative. So let me zoom out so I can see this better. Sorry. This is negative equity by race. So my apologies for that. So you see the difference? So the higher the percentage with this graph, the worse off you are. All the way up here at the top, 14%. Now that's going after 2010. But you see how it shot up? This is during the Obama years. This is bad. Negative equity right here. So this is something that he can't dispute. And I still see, like, when people interview him, they don't really challenge him on this. The authors point out that in terms of total wealth, the top 10% of African Americans and whites actually saw a positive change between 2007 and 2017, while most brackets saw large declines. So if you were in the top 10%, you were okay in reference to wealth. The people who were middle class and working class, those were the people that suffered the most. This is bad. So it says here, Cooper and Brunick are critical of the Obama administration's response to the financial crisis, taking aim at policies that bailed out large financial institutions while offering little help to homeowners. The author singled out the Home Affordable Modification Program for censure to seeking to incentivize mortgage services to modify loans. What you have to understand, I'm not going to go through all of this tonight because it's a long story. But there's a documentary that you should watch called The Con that breaks down how this happened, how these banks stole homes from mainly predominantly Black Americans, some of them older Black Americans that didn't really understand some of the terminology that was on the paperwork that they were told to sign. Some of them had their signatures forged. And when all this came to a head, the president of the United States at that time chose to bail out Wall Street instead of those homeowners. So those people lost their homes and never got it back. So just like that, that is actually why Black wealth dropped so sharply during Barack Obama's administration. And we need to tell this to more people, because the people that tell me that I need to support Barack Obama just because he's Black, hells no. Barack Obama didn't support us. Show them that. Eric, can you put the link to this article in the chat so they can see the rest of it? It's a longer article. Definitely should check that out. Adept says the U.S. Conference of Mayors says that the USA owes the descendants of those promised 40 acres and a mule. FBA says that the USA owes $6.2 quadrillion in reparations. So much wealth that has been lost. JB, we never owned a home in my family. My mom is 71 and never owned a home. And it's a common story. Desert Mantis say The Con is an incredible film. Yes, absolutely. JB says a huge amount of homes are being bought up by BlackRock, and many of us are becoming permanent renters now. This is a big problem. And that's another thing that's not being prevented and not being resolved. You're allowing those companies to come in and buy up homes. Why do you think it's so expensive for people to buy homes now? And it's not just here in the Northeast where I am. I have friends that live in Florida that told me even Florida is expensive to buy a home in now. It's crazy. Thank you for the super chat. None of your business. New way to steal minority wealth. Black wealth, you too. BlackRock buying housing with no interest money, inflating the prices. You can't buy or own a home back with your own sale. PRC. This is why a lot of these houses are so expensive. It's not, gentrification isn't just wealthy or professionals moving into the neighborhood. It's also corporations buying up property in that neighborhood, which jacks up the rent for the other units in that neighborhood. And nobody's stopping it. It's a problem. Okay, we are moving on to our next story here. If you have not heard, you will hear now, but I'm sure you have heard. So this race here in Brazil, Convo Couch came on to talk about this between Lula and Bolsonaro after round one. We are now done with round two. Now, during that time, there was this belief. Most people were saying that even though Lula won round one, he would not win round two. Well, that didn't happen. He did win round two. So this is huge news. And I want to talk about this, but before I get into his win, I want you to see what happened before. I think it's important that we go back to the past so we can see how we got here to begin with. So I need to remind people that Lula was in prison. So Brazil's favorite leftist is back from prison and trying to defeat Bolsonaro. So this was before he won. So let's go on here. There's a couple of pieces I want to point out here. I think that's important. The former president of Brazil was sentenced to 22 years on corruption charges, a conviction that appeared to end the storied career of a man who had once been the loin of the Latin American left. Now freed from prison, Lula is on the brink of becoming Brazil's president once again. An incredible political resurrection that at one time seemed unthinkable. On Sunday, Brazilians will vote for their next leader, with most choosing between President Bolsonaro, 67, the right-wing nationalist incumbent. By the way, Bolsonaro was backed and supported by Trump. And Lula, 76, a zealous leftist known simply as Lula, whose corruption convictions were annulled last year after Brazil's Supreme Court ruled that the judge in his cases were biased. So that's important to note as well. Now let's talk about the leftist part here. One thing I don't want people to become confused by, I don't want you to think that Lula was like this radical, like socialist, like extremist or whatever. And I do understand that some of mainstream media has been describing him that way. That's actually not true. If you look at what Lula wants to do, he kind of reminds me of kind of like a Bernie Sanders, like a social democrat. So he wants to implement more social programs. That's different from being a socialist where you let the workers own the means of the production. So I just wanted to add that tidbit there. For more than a year, polls have shown Lula was blah, 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 blah. I cannot talk tonight. With a commanding lead, now a surge in his numbers suggests he could win outright on Sunday with more than 50% of the vote, avoiding a runoff with Mr. Bolsonaro. That did not happen. He did have to do the runoff. That was the round 2 that I was telling you about, but he won round 2, which is what people were afraid that he would not win, actually. A victory would complete a remarkable journey for Mr. Da Silva, whom former President Barack Obama once called the most popular politician on earth. When he left office in 2011 after 2 terms, Lula's approval rating topped 80%. Now, none of the presidents that I've had in my lifetime have topped 80%. I don't even think they got to 70, like not while they were in office. So you guys see the difference here? You have someone like Joe Biden or Trump having like 40 something percent or 30 something percent. And this guy had over 80% approval rating. That's a big difference there. Now let's go on here. There's Lula there. There's another piece I want to point out here as well. How did they try to destroy Lula? This is him here. I spent 580 days in jail because they didn't want me to run. And I stayed there, preparing myself like Mandela prepared for 27 years. So you see how they try to shut down the voices that really want to do something for the people, right? So it goes on here to say that Lula returned to the president's office would cement his status as the most influential figure in Brazil's modern democracy. A former metal worker with a 5th grade education and the son of illiterate farm workers, he has been a political force for decades, leading a transformational shift in Brazilian politics away from conservative principles and toward leftist ideals and working class interests. So I just want to remind you, this is someone who had a 5th grade education and was the son of illiterate farm workers. According to Barack Obama, he would not qualify to run as a politician based on that statement that Barack Obama said about Herschel Walker. Just keep that in mind. Okay. The leftist Workers' Party he co-founded in 1980 has won 4 of the 8 presidential elections since the end of Brazil's military dictatorship in 1988, while finishing as the runner-up in the rest. As president, from 2003 through 2010, Lula's administration helped lift 20 million Brazilians out of poverty, revitalized the nation's oil industry, and elevated Brazil on the world stage, including by hosting the World Cup and the Summer Olympics. 20 million Brazilians out of poverty. Can you post the link to that article? Yes. It is a long article. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. But 20 million Brazilians out of poverty. So I just wanted you to know that some of the things that he had already done before this election, before this re-election. So yeah, Eric, can you share the link to this in the chat? So I wanted to show you just a brief overview about his past. And now we're going to get into his win. Let's dive in. Lula beats far-right President Bolsonaro to win Brazil election. And there he is. Looks like a jolly person. All right, we know about the past. We went over that. So here we go. Official returns gave Lula, who is a former 2-term president, 50.9% of the vote compared to 49.1% for Bolsonaro. Lula will be sworn in for a 4-year term on January 1st. I am really happy. This is Victor, who works in advertising. Victor goes on to say, the next 4 years will be more hopeful for us. The extremely tight race showed how politically polarized Brazil has become in recent years. Although the balloting was largely peaceful, there were several violent incidents during the campaign, with authorities reporting to the killing of at least 4 Lula supporters at the hand of pro-Bolsonaro fanatics. That's so unfortunate. Bolsonaro, 67, a populist in the mold of former Donald Trump, served as an army captain during Brazil's military dictatorship that lasted from 1964 to 1985 and filled his cabinet with former officers. He repeatedly challenged the legitimacy of the election and reliability of Brazil's electronic voting machines and hinted that he might not accept the results if he lost. Now, from what I understand, he hasn't done this yet. I'll double check again, but there's a possibility there. But I think he realizes that he lost. His anti-democratic rhetoric alarmed many Brazilians, while 77-year-old Lula promised a return to normality. We are going to fix the country and you are going to be happy again. That's what Lula said to the voters there. Lula and Bolsonaro were the 2 top finishers in a first round of presidential voting on October 2nd that featured 11 candidates. But neither Lula or Bolsonaro secured more than half the votes required for an outright victory, forcing this weekend's runoff election. So that's why there was a second round, for people who are wondering. They had to get like a certain percentage to avoid that, but that did not happen. Lula has promised to increase minimum wage, jump the start of the economy, which has been flagged since the pandemic hit Brazil and caused nearly 700,000 deaths, the world's second highest death toll after the U.S. He has also pledged to protect the Amazon rainforest after deforestation hit a 15-year high under Bolsonaro. I'm going to get to that in just a second, but there's something that I want to point out. Right off the bat, I'm going to increase the minimum wage. This is what we need our presidents to do, right? I also want to remind you of something else. Lula was in prison. He was able to get out of prison and run for office again. In the United States, you can't do it. Like, if you've been in prison and you come out of prison, you say, okay, I'm going to run for president. You can't. You're a federal offense. You can't even vote. You see the problem? But in their country, you can, because I guess it's kind of seen as you've done your time. You can move on and move forward with your life. But here, you get a record. That's a wrap. That's a wrap. And one more piece here I want to mention. Sunday's victory was perhaps the most spectacular in Lula's roller coaster political career. After 3 failed runs for the presidency, Lula was elected to the post in 2002, then reelected in 2006. As president, he oversaw an economic boom that helped lift millions out of poverty, making him an icon of the Latin American left. Listen, the voters here are focused on the economic issues, and we talked about this earlier this morning on Rising. They're not focused on the social, cultural issues. And this is something that when Pasta and Fee came on, they covered these elections in Brazil. They were talking about that, and they explained to me, you have to understand they're electing leftist politicians, but they're electing them based on economic issues, not the cultural and the social issues. That is a big part of the difference. So if you meet the economic needs of the American people, the people will come out and support you. It's when you've been lying to them for years and you don't meet their economic needs, that's when people walk away. And we see that happening now. Now, in reference to the Amazon, this is important. I want to cover this piece a little bit here. Brazil's Green New Deal, Lula promises environmental policy overhaul. Now, this actually will affect the entire world, not just Brazil. Oh, you guys have small font. There we go. Okay, Lula is vowing an environmental overhaul of government policy on a scale rivaling the proposed U.S. Green New Deal. So this is actually going to be bolder than the Green New Deal that we have here. Now, it goes on to say, this was before he won, but this was the plan. Oh, why are you doing this? Go away. I hate when they have these little drop tops. Anywho, with plans to grant new protected status to 500,000 square kilometers of the Amazon rainforest, fight deforestation, subsidize sustainable farming, and reform Brazil's tax code to usher in a green economy. So this piece right here, the Amazon rainforest affects the entire world, you guys. We cannot let the rainforest die. And from what I've read under Bolsonaro, this is nothing but destruction. Not protecting the Amazon rainforest. You have to protect it. That's important for oxygen. And it goes on to say here, as a mission statement, the environmental proposals from Lula and his advisors mark a departure from the policies of right-wing President Bolsonaro and a dramatic update to the priorities of Lula's own Workers' Party in recent decades. So this is huge, you guys. So just imagine if Bolsonaro would have won, we would still have the destruction to the Amazon rainforest. So this is huge. Menuma says, send money to Lula so he can put trees in the Amazon. There you go. There you go. Thank you so much. So yes, huge story. There's so much more information, so much I don't have time to go through tonight, to be honest. I might bring someone back on to talk about it. But I have one more story to get to, and I want to make sure I get to that as well. I'll take those comments on Rockfin, Eric. Okay. Oh, thank you for the super chat, Roger. He says, Rock. I didn't forget about it. Okay, Sabs, remember when I said in that long ass tweet about public banks in regard to weed? If you don't have one in your state to legally launder the weed profits, then those profits will have to be put in a safe or under your mattress. This subjects you to armed robberies because you can't put that money in a bank because they have to abide by federal bank regulation via the FDIC. A public bank would resolve that. That's a good point. Thank you for this tip, Zach. So this is about Ron Johnson's race. Ron's the only senator who did anything about the jab. He literally risked his career and integrity to hear all the injured stories. Now that the corruption and fraud is being exposed, Ron is being shown on the right side of history. Sadly, he's caught up in the war with the squad, but what he did for the voiceless is more than any elected officials done for years. That's good to know, Zach. That's interesting. And thank you for this tip, Roger. Obama was good at getting himself elected, but could not extend it to other Dems. I saw this when he backed incumbent John Corzine against challenger Chris Christie and saw Bob McDonald win governor in Virginia. Barack, you had a decade to speak. Time you listened to us. Obama, you say after your presidency, you were going to speak and help Black boys in Chicago anyway. You out here campaigning and shit. That's a good one, Roger. Thank you for this tip, Dave. Sabs, it's time for the people to really fight on taking back from their greed. Take some risk. Make people mad. Some will join your anger. Some you will piss off. So much the better. Start kicking ass. Thank you so much. And thank you for this, Dave. People got to take the country back from the warmongers and the green money people. Greedy money people, sorry. And thank you for this tip, Zach. Sabby, Amber is doing a watch party of the real Anthony Fauci tonight on the Roar Media channel. Ooh, I really hope you can join. The information in this is extremely relevant to where we find ourselves today. Most RBN viewers aren't caught up on this either, and you would be the best person to break into the info with them. Thank you for letting me know, Zach. I'll see if I can check that out. And thanks for this tip, Roger. Questioning mental competency. I wonder if Oz will use that same line against Fetterman. Would you trust him to fly the plane? I know I'd trust Oz with a scalpel over Fetterman. Like I said, when it comes to electing people, voters don't focus on policy, but letter next to the name, familiarity, and emotion. Sorry, I thought I was going to sneeze. Familiarity and emotion. This makes the case why BIs are so important, forcing them to look at the policy. We need 23 more BI states. I agree. Guys, yeah, I did plug ballot initiatives on Rising this morning. So definitely check out that episode if you didn't see it. A simple fix to JB problem. Run a ballot initiative to outlaw private equity from owning housing. While you're at it, outlaw them from owning hospitals, nursing homes, medical facilities, clinics, etc., to take the profit out of healthcare. Also, Sab, this is not to say we should not protect the Amazon forest, but scientists found that most of our oxygen comes from the ocean. The oxygen produced by Amazon doesn't leave the rainforest due to the plentiful animals that are in the forest breathing the oxygen. So what forest produces never leaves the forest. I don't know how many animals are still left in the rainforest at this point, though. That's the thing. But thank you for that. Colin says, we got to thank Glenn Greenwald for his journalism that got Lula out of prison. Yes. Thank you for that reminder, Colin. And thank you for the super chat, Wendy. There was a documentary about a nun who was murdered for protesting the Amazon's destruction. Greed drives some people crazy. I agree. All right, we are going into our final story. Now, many of you have already heard about this incident here with Paul Pelosi, with Nancy Pelosi's husband. I don't know if some of you have heard who's being called to blame. So let's go over what happened with Nancy Pelosi's husband, Paul Pelosi. And then we're going to get into, people pointing fingers. They're getting angry. They're looking at people to blame. Then we're going to get into all that. Because one of the people they're trying to point fingers at is Jimmy Dore. Let's go. Let's do it. So San Francisco Police Chief Bill Scott confirmed that the intruder was specifically targeting the House Speaker. everyone should be disgusted. So the police officer knew details in the Paul Pelosi assault. So just FYI, guys, this is updated information. So here we go. Police said Friday evening the attack on Paul Pelosi, the husband of Speaker Nancy Pelosi, was intentional. The man accused of entering the Pelosi home and attacking Paul Pelosi with a hammer, specifically targeting the California Democrat, San Francisco Police Chief Bill Scott confirmed on Friday. So this is a little bit new. I believe when this was originally reported, they thought the target was her husband, but now they have confirmed that she was the original target. There's been a lot of other theories that has come up about this incident. It is really odd to me. It's a little strange. So it goes on to say, the man accused of entering the Pelosi home and attacking Paul Pelosi with a hammer specifically targeted the California Democrat. This was consistent with the revelation that the assailant, a 42-year-old Berkeley resident, had asked, "Where is Nancy?" before his assault. This was intentional. Don't sign up for this. What did he say? Oh, this was intentional. Adding politician families, don't sign up for this. It is wrong and everyone should be disgusted. Dave DePop forced his way into the home through a back entrance. The police chief said Friday that officers arrived at the house and entered through the front door, which someone, they didn't specify who, opened from the inside. Let's highlight this here. Who's the someone? I think that should be confirmed. Someone, they didn't specify who. So someone opened the door. Listen to this. The police chief said Friday that officers arrived at the house and entered through the front door. Someone opened the door from the inside. So the police don't know who let them in. Manima says it was Jimmy Dore. Really? I find this hard to believe that they don't know who let them in, or they just don't want us to know who let them in. They discovered DePop and Pelosi struggling in the entryway for a hammer. And after they instructed them to drop the weapon, DePop took the hammer and violently attacked Pelosi. So when the police entered the home, DePop and Pelosi were struggling in the entryway for the hammer. So that means it wasn't Paul Pelosi who opened the door, and it wasn't DePop who opened the door. Who is this mystery third person who was there who opened the door? Who was it? A ghost? Okay. The San Francisco Police Department and District Attorney Brooke Jenkins on Sunday clarified that there were just two people inside the home at the time and that one of them opened the door. Okay, so how we go from there were three people, right? We're just going to count here. You see Pelosi and DePop struggling for the hammer when the police entered the home. Prior to that, another person opened the door to let them in. 1, 2, 3. Now they're saying that there was only two people in the home. I'm confused. Now, I'm not trying to make up anything here, but this is a little strange. Either someone, I'm sorry about looking at the comments. Chip says Jimmy Dore opened the door. That's why his last name is Dore. Oh my gosh, you guys, this is ridiculous. Am I imagining things here? So how you go from 3 to 2? And if two people open the door, then they weren't struggling for the hammer when they walked in. If there was only two people, one person opened the door. Where's the other person struggling with them for the hammer? Let's go on. Let's go on. Police have taken DePop into custody and said he will be booked for attempted homicide, burglary, assault with a deadly weapon, aggravated battery with serious bodily injury, elder abuse, infliction of bodily injury on the elderly, dissuading a victim, threatening a family member of a public official, and damaging or preventing a communication for an emergency call. Pelosi has undergone successful surgery for fractures to his skull and arms. So, from what I understand, he was hit in the head with the hammer. I believe it was twice. I don't know, man. This story is strange. It is really strange. So there's more that goes on. It says, authorities have not detailed a motive, but it goes on to point out things about the pop, or how do we say his name, that he had an online history which indicates that he subscribed to the discrediting of the narrative of I got to highlight this, I can't discuss this on here, that it was legitimate and espoused a range of bigoted and radical beliefs. He expressed anti-Semitic views and appeared to embrace, QAnon movement, which posits a secret cabal of pedophiles, has been protected by the people in power. So dude was cray. Now, what was also interesting to me is that it goes on to say, Politico reported earlier Friday that Pelosi had been able to dial 911 after telling the intruder that he had to use the restroom, and then called from inside where his phone had been charging. Now, someone breaks into your house with a hammer, trying to knock you out in the head. If they're trying to kill you, are they going to let you go to the bathroom? Does this seem odd to you? Look, I do not condone violence of any sort. I think this guy's crazy, and I think this is ridiculous. I want to be very clear here. I don't approve of this attack at all. But I will also say there's some holes in this story, man. Someone should have a lawyer look at this. Like, seriously, there's some holes here in this story that just don't make any sense to me. And it gets worse. Because there was something else that I noticed too, and I'm not sure if everyone is playing this, but I do have part of the 911 call. Let's see if we can hear this while on here. So it says, audio recordings of the police department calls to the Pelosi attack where Paul Pelosi stated that David DePape was a friend. Let's see if we can hear it, guys.
Northern 4 car, 8 priority 910, 2640 Broadway, cross of Scott and Normandy. 14-hour copy. RP stated that there's a male in the home and that he's going to wait for his wife. RP stated that he doesn't know who the male is, but he advised that his name is David and that he is a friend. RP sounded somewhat confused. Is a friend. RP sounded somewhat confused.
Eric, can you use volume booster? I'm going to play this again. This is a little strange. I told you there's holes in this story.
4 car, 8 priority 910, 2640 Broadway, cross of Scott and Normandy. Northern 4 car, 8 priority 910, 2640 Broadway, cross of Scott and Normandy. 14-hour copy. RP stated that there's a male in the home and that he's going to wait for his wife. RP stated that he doesn't know who the male is, but he advised that his name is David and that he is a friend.
There's a male in the home and that his name is David and says that he is a friend.
RP sounded somewhat confused. Is a friend? RP sounded somewhat confused. 12 over back and copy. Northern 4 car, 8 priority 910, 2640 Broadway, cross of Scott and Normandy. 14-hour copy. RP stated that there's a male in the home and that he's going to wait for his wife. RP.
There's a male in the home and that he's going to wait for his wife. So let's just remember someone just broke into your home, tried to kill you, whatever he was trying to do to him with this hammer. And the suspect is still in the home with you, and you call and tell the police you're going to wait for your wife.
stated that he doesn't know who the male is, but he advised that his name is David and that he is a friend.
Doesn't know who the male is, but he advised his name is David and that he is a friend. So maybe he was a friend of Nancy Pelosi's. But why would you say suspect in the house, but I'm going to wait for my wife? That doesn't make it. This is weird.
RP sounded somewhat confused. Is a friend. RP sounded somewhat confused. Scroll over back and copy.
Anthony Paul said David was a friend. I'm so confused. Are you guys confused? I don't know. Like, how did he get into the home? Does anybody know the answer? How did he get in the house? Was there any sign of forced entry? Because that's not mentioned in the article I just read to you guys. Look, I watched a lot of Law and Order in my life, so I have these questions like programmed into my brain. Was there any sign of forced entry? No. If there wasn't, how did he get into the house? Did someone let him in the house? How does he know that this person is a friend? If they were a friend, would they really break into the house, or would you knowingly let them in? Why would you say that you're going to wait for your wife if the suspect is still in the house and they just tried to kill you? Does this sound real to you guys? Somebody help. Something is off. I don't know. Get Matlock. Somebody call Murder, She Wrote. She was really good at solving these kind of cases. Now, here's the problem. People are trying to point towards Jimmy Dore because they're saying one of the things, I guess, that DePop had on his website was a Jimmy Dore video. Now, I don't know about you guys. I don't remember Jimmy Dore telling anybody to go attack anyone. Never remember that. So, but people are blaming him. So here we go. We got this one here. I'll make this a little bit bigger. And by the way, she deleted this tweet, but I got the screenshot. So we'll come back. So Jimmy Dore says, I confess. Right after, I'm sorry, this is funny. I confessed. Right after I blew up the Nord Stream pipeline, I engineered an attack on Pelosi's husband. Yes, I am very powerful. I'm surprised the establishment doesn't try being nicer to me since I'm controlling most things from my garage. So let me show you. Like I said, it was a screenshot. So I have to bring up the screenshot because, see, this is why I do screenshots sometimes, because I know they're going to delete. I was like, this person is probably going to delete this. Let me go to pull this up really quick. Here we go. Okay. So I'm just going to share this really quick. By the way, this woman sounds a little cuckoo anyway. Like I was listening to her. I was like, is this woman weird? Let me put this over here. Okay. Got it. Screenshots are for life. Let's go ahead and share my screen. I knew she was going to delete it too. Okay. I'm going to zoom in. All right. So there's the response from Jimmy. So it's from this woman. Her name is Laura Rosen. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Laura Rosen, that's her name. So she says, she tweets this out. And she says, suspect in attack on Paul Pelosi seems to be a fan of a seemingly pro-Putin, pro-Assad YouTube conspiracy theorist named Jimmy Dore and anti-Semitic. One of his recent posts says the war in Ukraine will make it easier for Jews to buy up. And then that's where it cut off there because I didn't get the rest. But look, so then she puts like screenshots of Jimmy Dore's videos. Like, this is some weird shit. Look, people are fucking crazy. So she posted this October 28th. So that was that piece. And that was Jimmy right there responding, saying, I confess. Right after I blew up the Nord Stream pipeline, I engineered an attack on Pelosi's husband. Yes, I'm very powerful. I'm surprised the establishment doesn't try being nicer to me since I'm controlling most things from my garage. So that was one piece there. And then there's another piece here that I'm going to share as well. So this is her again. Like I said, she goes on. This woman was loony. Look what she put. She said, so she's talking about how he had a screenshot of an anti-Semitic video. That's not Jimmy Dore's video. That's a different video, just FYI. Then she goes on to say, same post has another pro-Putin, propagandist Jimmy Dore video blaming the West for Russia's war on Ukraine. See, look, then she puts, this is Noam Chomsky. You're going to call Noam Chomsky a propagandist? Okay, let's go. See, so she put these screenshots here, right? And then she went on to talk about how this person also, I guess, had admired Tulsi Gabbard and things like that. This woman, and that's the one that she deleted where I showed you the screenshot. I told you she was going to delete it. And so if I go here, Laura Rosen, reporting on DC and foreign policy. Oh my God. What in the world? Rights Diplomatic Substack, Just Security Ed Board, Owl Monitor, Politico, Foreign Policy alum, retweet endorsements. And then she put her Gmail here. Wow. And of course, she's in DC. How did you know? How do you know? So, and she got the nerve to have a dog up here. So look, that's part of it. But there's more too. There's other things too. Hold on. There's another one I'm going to show you. And then I'll exit with this because I'm already past time. Let me go over here. Because it's not just her. Let me see if he kept it up. He might have taken it down. I forgot about this one. But it's just, some people just have no, I tell you. Like, I'm going to say this. Not everything that goes wrong is Jimmy Dore's fault. Like, it's weird to me. Let me see if did he remove it? He probably removed it. Even if he did, I think, no, he didn't remove it. Let me see if this is the one. I think this is the one. Hold on. Let me get to it. Give me just a second, guys. Okay, yeah. Yeah. I got it. Eric, let's do 10:52. So it's not just that woman. Okay. Jordan Sheraton's in on this too. Like, I really do believe people are just fucking, these people, I think some of these people are ops, man. I'm going to tell you, it's just one of those things where you want to look at some people and be like, are you a Fed? Like seriously. Right about here. All right. You guys got to hear this shit. You got to hear this.
Pushing like COVID vaccine denialism, like COVID trutherism, like 2020 election was stolen. It wasn't. Like the January 6th, it was a false flag operation. Like the most important thing, your kids are being mutilated. I thought Republicans were family values, but apparently they want to decide for parents how they could choose for their children. You think children are just allowed to go into hospitals without their parents' approval to get gender affirming care? These people, and by the way, some leftists, including Jimmy Dore, push this stupidity push lies, and they know that there are people, and a growing number of people, on 4chan, an extremist site, on the Donald, the popular MAGA site, on extremist message boards where Proud Boys, Oath Keepers, on websites like the Daily Stormer, a neo-Nazi site. They know the things they are pushing are being received by unhinged people that believe it hook, line, and sinker, and many of whom will go out and commit violence. Let's go through the list here, because this isn't an isolated incident. Remember, I think it was a year or two ago, you had somebody send in the mail to CNN like a pipe bomb. I'm critical of CNN all day long. I criticize CNN. We cover them very critical. I hope nobody condones sending bombs in the mail to news outlets. After Donald Trump's little compound down south was searched because he jacked, hundreds of documents of classified material for which he then claimed the FBI planted it. And you have people like Marjorie Taylor Greene saying the FBI planted it. There is a long history of the FBI planting evidence, but not on white assholes like Donald Trump, on poor black and brown and indigenous people. There was no evidence that the FBI planted anything in Mar-a-Lago. But Trump's lies, because he lies with every breath, led someone to shoot up an FBI office in Cincinnati. Are we that far gone that because we don't like the FBI and want to abolish the FBI that we're okay with people going to shoot up FBI offices?
Who is he talking about? This is so weird.
I'm not. In 50 out of 67 Pennsylvania counties, if we could show that one.
Let's get to, hold on.
Standing around as people drop off their mail-in ballots.
Yeah, I don't care
Just
about that.
Whether Democrats are winning the midterms, that's not the point. People will vote for whoever they want to vote for. I'm not here to tell you who to vote for. But this insanity, this violence bred by conspiracies, there was never any evidence whatsoever. Let me repeat, because I was on the road. I was in Pennsylvania on election day. There was never any propaganda shit because he watches Fox News all day long. And sometimes it's like knocking my fucking head against the wall trying to talk to him.
Let me see. Let me see where he started with the
rental prices in places like Seattle, San Francisco, Chicago, LA, Washington, D.C., New York City, even rural areas, costs are going up for years. And people are economically angry. This isn't my opinion. For those of you who watch Status Coup and who have watched this for years, I don't talk the talk, I walk the walk. I covered at least 50 to 60 campaign events on the road in 2016. Trump events, Trump rallies, Bernie rallies, even Hillary rallies, even Ted Cruz rallies. In 2020, I covered economic desperation. That breeds into societal rot. And when you have economic anger and you have economic desperation and you have that kind of societal rot, there creates a huge vacuum and opportunity for people to become radicalized, for people to become very susceptible to distractions, for people, Matt Walsh too, thank you. And keep those super chats coming. I'll read them in a bit. People become very susceptible to distractions, to blaming others, to believing that the issue isn't that the government is selling you out, including the Republicans, including Trump, but the issue is the trans athlete. The issue is the Mexican immigrant. The issue is the limousine liberal. The issue is the Muslim refugee. The issue is not the banks that wrote the trade deals that closed down your factories and sold your jobs to China and Mexico. The issue isn't the politicians that you're voting for that say they're for you, and then they pass tax cuts, which 85% of those tax cuts go to the wealthy. Those are not the issues. It's the drag queen. It's the drag show. It's people are too woke. That's what's creating. And by the way, but it's not all economic. Some people are doing just fine economically and are just bigoted and racist and susceptible to conspiracy theorists. But in my experience, traveling the country for status quo, what really bothers me the most is you have people in this country like Tucker Carlson, the whole Fox News apparatus, all these right-wingers online that are pretending they're populists. They know the things they're saying. They know what they are pushing is connecting with people who are not all there. They know the things they're pushing, like COVID vaccine denialism, like COVID trutherism, like 2020 election was stolen. It wasn't. Like the January 6th, it was a false flag operation. Like the most important thing, your kids are being mutilated. I thought Republicans were family values, but apparently they want to decide for parents how they could choose for their children. You think children are just allowed to go into hospitals without their parents' approval to get gender affirming care? These people, and by the way, some leftists, including Jimmy Dore, push this stupidity.
So notice how he says some leftists, including Jimmy Dore. And he does this every time. Anyway, this goes back to the same Nancy Pelosi husband's issue. He was another one that tried to point fingers at Jimmy Dore. And it's all the people in left independent media, he always points the finger back at Jimmy Dore. It just, to me, it's just, there's something wrong with you, man. Like, I'm sorry. Like, look, I try to give people the benefit of the doubt. I really do. At least I did in the beginning. But if I see that you constantly, it's just weird to me. It's weird to me, man. And I think it's kind of like a far reach to start pointing fingers at someone saying, oh, look, this person listened to Jimmy Dore, so he's part of the reason why. No. That's a far reach. That's a stretch. And that's dangerous. This was actually longer, by the way. This is the clip, but someone sent me the other longer stream earlier. It was painful. And he lied on us, by the way. He lied on RBN. But that's all right. I see you. I see you, and I see you for what you really are. So it's really interesting to me that this is not cool. Whether you like Jimmy Dore or not, this shit is ridiculous. God. Okay. Ay. Not a good look, man. Not a good look. Thank you for the super chat, Mad Wolf. They keep smearing the hell out of Jimmy because they're scared shitless Jimmy will run for president 2024. Thank you for the super chat, Delthea. Jimmy was smoking on the Heidenberg, ordered ice cream on the Titanic, and sold theater tickets to the Lincolns. I love it, Delthea. That's too funny. I'm sorry. Thank you for the super chat, Jody. Jimmy helped Sheraton after YouTube fired his ass. I had to suffer Jordan Sheraton at a Dore live show in 2017. This is the thanks Jimmy gets. Ouch. I didn't know that. Thank you for the super chat, Yonina. Sabby, my cat Empress says hi, and I'm canceling my subscription to Jordan right now. No. See, wait a minute, because people are going to see this, and they'll be like, see, because of what Sabby said, people are canceling. I'm not saying cancel him. I just think his comment was fucking ridiculous. He never left TYT. He tried to become a Jink copy. He stagnated. I gotta tell you, I'm so glad we have RBN. I'm so glad we started something because these voices are just, ugh. These voices just kill me. I can't believe I listened to some of these people back in the day, man. I really can't. I'll take those comments on Rockfin, Eric. Thank you for the tip on Rockfin, Roger Meadows. What the fuck is this, a game of Clue? It was the it was the comedian with the glasses whose alias is Colonel Mustard or Professor Plum in the living room with the hammer. Jeez. Yes. Thank you, Roger. This is the weirdest story. The story's fucking weird. I'm sorry, but it doesn't make any sense. I feel like I need to go watch another Law and Order episode or something. Or maybe I'm missing something. Thank you for this tip, Zach. Holy shit. Jordan sounds absolutely deranged. OMG. He was the guy in his underwear opening the door for that dude at his grandpa Paul's house. It fits. The guy has lost his shit. I don't know, dude. Gary says the butler did it. You guys got jokes in the chat. It's really funny. I like this one. Where did it go? Oh, shoot. I lost it. Oh, Roman. Jimmy Dore built a time machine to go back and give John Hinckley Jr. a bigger gun. It's just crazy, man. It's crazy. It's fucking weird. It's just weird. It's fucking weird. Thank you for the super chat, Brucelet. David showed up at the house, told Paul he's a friend of Nancy's and he's going to wait at the house for her. That makes more sense. That makes more sense. Thank you, Brucelist. And snooze. Sabby Sabs, I'm confused. Nancy Pelosi is third in line for the presidency. Wouldn't her spouse have Secret Service detail and emergency call method, button, and remote? I'm not sure. I do know the president and the vice president, they have it and their kids have it. I'm not sure about the Speaker of the House, but that's a good question. Now you really got me thinking. You guys really, it's gonna go with me all night. I'll be thinking about this. Like, if you didn't get a chance to do so, go ahead and hit that like button, guys. And we got to reveal our poll results here. Just waiting on the poll results. I think, Eric, let me know if you got, okay. All right, let's check out those poll results. Let's see what you guys had to say. Okay, will Democrats lose the House or Senate this midterm? Dems will lose the House and Senate. 73% of you believe they would lose both. Dems will lose one of them. 23% of you believe they'll lose one. Dems will keep the House and Senate. 2%. And I messed up this last one. I totally goofed. But Dems will keep both of them 2%. That should have actually been Dems will keep one of them. But I honestly only need 3 choices. This is what happens when I try to type fast. It was a mess. It was a mess. But the majority of you believe that they'll lose the House and the Senate. That's interesting. I would actually be at the second one. I think they may lose one of them. I'm not sure if they would lose both of them, but that is very interesting. So those are the results, ladies and gentlemen. So there you have it. Now, it is 9:20. Now, here's the question. If I did a call-in episode, do you guys want to call an episode tonight? Let me know in the chat. I usually do it just on Thursday and Friday. Also, I have to run to the gas station too, but I can do that while I'm still on call-in. I actually do that sometimes with you guys. I don't know if you noticed that, but you said, yeah, Anthony. Anthony said yes. Let me see if I can create one real quick. Schedule the room. We did the mash. We did the monster mash. The monster mash. Do, 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 do. All right, so this will be episode what, 51? What are you guys saying in the chat? Sure, yes, hell yeah. Okay. Now listen, guys, I can't be up till 1 o'clock in the morning this time around. Because last time I went past my bedtime there and it was Sabby was sleepy. What do I want to call it? Red wave. I don't know. What do you guys want to talk about? We're going to talk about the Pelosi thing. Jimmy Dore. Jimmy Dore and Pelosi. All right. Okay, sorry, I'm typing this as some pundits are blaming Jimmy Dore as part of the reason for the attacker, part for Paul Pelosi's attacker. Thoughts? Add a show. Date. Got to make sure I pick the right date, because if I pick the wrong date, I've done that before too, and people are like, it was like 2 days later. It's Tuesday. Time. We can start. It's 9:23. We should be able to start at 9:30 at the latest. And we can do the damn thing and save. Okay, copy the link. And I'll add the link here to the live chat. I'll pin it to the live chat right now. And yeah, we can go ahead and just jump into it. Still got to go to the store though, but we can do all that at once. Let's see, call in there. We did the mash. We did the monster mash. The monster mash. Why won't you let me pin this message? Okay. The link is pinned to the top of the chat. I'm going to go ahead and end this stream and we'll jump in on over to call in, guys. All right. So, guys, you know how we do this? And it should be pinned there at the top of the live chat. Have a good night. Keep up the fight.